If I had to sum up today's entire video in a single word, it would be overreaction. I run the risk of exaggerating here myself, but I'm racking my brain and I genuinely believe this is the biggest overreaction I have ever seen coming from someone attached to a giant Hollywood movie. A fan-made movie poster has somehow made its way all the way to NBC News and CNN because one of the actresses featured on the poster for the upcoming movie Wicked called it out and digitally ripped it to shreds, claiming that this is the quote, most offensive thing she's ever seen. So today, I thought we'd take a look at the poster in question and see if we can decide for ourselves whether it warranted a response that was so, dare I say, intense. But first, welcome. My name is D'Angelo, and I am your professor of logarithmetic, which is a very real degree that I definitely do have. Or maybe this is just me broadcasting myself, talking in my room like YouTube used to be. And in today's lecture, I have been straight up flummoxed as I attempt to understand where in the world this actress could possibly be coming from. So the actress in question is Cynthia Erivo. She's a singer as well, winning a Grammy Award and a Tony for her performance on Broadway. And she and Ariana Grande have been in the news for what feels like centuries at this point because they are playing the main characters in the upcoming musical Wicked. And they've been on this never-ending press tour. Seriously, this film has been in production hell for over 10 years at this point. At one point, it was supposed to release in 2016. And then 2019, 2021, but then you've got COVID, obviously. And then finally, in November of 2021, that's when Ariana and Cynthia joined the cast. And so as you can imagine, there has been a lot of information coming from these two about the movie. And while there's certainly a lot to be said about Miss Grande herself, that would take up its own video. So let's just go ahead and talk about Miss Erivo. Here is the original movie poster. This is the official poster for the film Wicked. This is the one that Cynthia is okay with. As far as movie posters go, it's kind of mid, honestly. Like, it's fine, but it really pales in comparison to this. Now we're cooking with fire. So this poster actually came first. See, the Wicked musical film that's coming out is actually based off of this Broadway play. And this is the poster they used for that. It's worth noting that the Broadway play is actually based off of a book. The book is a lot different than the play, I'll tell you that. I made the mistake of reading the book first and I was like, whoa, this rips. And then I watched the play. Seriously, if you like Wicked, the musical, read the book. It goes so much harder. It is worth noting though that Wicked the novel is actually based off of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, like the original kids book. So did you get that? This is a musical movie based off a musical play, based off of an adult book, based off of a kids book. And so looking at the source material, I honestly think it makes this poster even worse. The original Broadway play poster does such a good job, in my opinion, of like simplicity. I really, really love this from an artistic perspective because it's basically taken the themes of the story and boiled it down into 3 colors. 4 when you count that mischievous red lip. By comparison, this poster is just doing too much, honestly. I get it. These are real people. You got to do a bit more, but I just feel like it lost something. The vibe here is way more mysterious and intriguing. Like, honestly, this was what made me care about Wicked at all. What does Glinda know? Why is Elphaba obscured in the shadows? The whole poster has the vibe of like a secret that you're gonna get in on if you watch the play. I think it's pretty genius, honestly. Sorry, try as I might, I can never shed my artistic roots. I'm just such a nerd when it comes to illustration. And so, like many nerds, I just found this to be incredibly disappointing. And so a dedicated fan of the musical edited it into this. And I think this does a much better job of capturing the original. Now, one thing I would like to point out, I actually saw this edit before Cynthia did. It was making the rounds on the internet because people were like, wow, what a small change. And yet it somehow does such a better job of capturing the original mysterious vibe. I don't think I saw a single person say that they prefer the original. And I would have to agree. This one honestly just works a lot better for me. You have the obvious fact that this was made by a random person on Twitter and it's based off of an edited photo. So no, it doesn't look professional. But nevertheless, I just thought, hey, this is pretty cool. And so did Instagram user Wicked Mexico Fans, who took the edited version from the person who created it and put it on their Instagram fan page. They tagged Cynthia and Ariana, and that's how we found out that Cynthia Erivo does not think that this image is cool. So on her Instagram page with over 1 million followers, she reposts this image while linking to Wicked Mexico Fans account. And she says this is the wildest, most offensive thing I have seen. Equal to that awful AI of us fighting, equal to the people posing the question, is your redacted green. None of this is funny. None of it is cute. It degrades me. It degrades us. Okay, hold on. There's a bit more here, but I do think I have to stop for a second. Can we please do a line-by-line breakdown before I actually lose my mind here? When I first read this, I don't even think my brain was able to process the first sentence. Like, Cynthia, help me out here. With all of the things that are happening in the world right now, all of the privilege you have to not be privy to the things that are happening in the world right now, the wildest, most offensive thing you've seen is a movie poster edit. I guess if it's one thing she learned on Broadway, it's how to set the stage, because this really casts the rest of this message in the wildest light possible. I would actually go a step further to argue this is offensive. I think it's offensive to say that this is the most offensive thing you've seen. The Hollywood actors are not about to beat the out of touch allegations today, because what do you mean? Anyway, moving on. She tries to immediately equate it to that awful AI of us fighting, as well as people asking invasive questions about her body. Literally using the word equal in this case to try to paint all three of these things as the same. I just find that so damaging, because you are putting the person who made this fan edit in the worst possible position, taking two things that are completely indefensible, right? I can never sit here and say, yeah, no, it's totally okay to AI generate images of two actresses attacking each other. It's totally fine to ask questions that make people uncomfortable and violate their privacy. It's such a bizarrely oppositional stance to take, to put someone in a position where they have to say, wait, I'm not doing those things, basically implying that whoever made this would be okay with these other two things is insane to me. I personally think if they had AI generated an image and then said, yeah, I think this is better, that would be offensive in its own way. You're taking someone else's artwork, using a machine that's using a bunch of other people's artwork, and then claiming it did a better job than human beings. Sure, I would love to have this discussion, but I feel like I shouldn't even have to point out this isn't AI generated. In fact, funnily enough, the original image kind of does look AI generated, but these are just photoshopped. It's very clear to me Gen AI had nothing to do with this. The sky in the background is the same. They just changed the colors. The hat was just moved and darkened. I mean, you can even see it's a fan job, right? You've got these like harsh lines right here where they changed Ariana Grande's arm. So I make this distinction to say, even though I shouldn't have to, I don't support the two things she mentioned at all. I'm merely pointing out that one of these things is not like the other. Anyway, as far as her assertion that it's not funny or cute and it's degrading, again, it's this weird doublespeak thing where half of what she's saying is true, but the poster is obviously not intended to be funny. And it's most certainly not intended to degrade anybody. Like, I just don't understand how you can get this from that. I would like to point out, by the way, though, intent doesn't actually really matter too much when it comes to things that are offensive, because a lot of offensive content comes from people who are not trying to be awful. If I could use myself as an example, there are things that are just memes that I thought were funny. They were introduced to me in a context in which it was not problematic. And so then I go on to repeat them. I'm then informed, hey, this is actually problematic. And I'm like, oh, whoa, buddy. So I wouldn't even actually say just because they weren't trying to degrade you, that means you shouldn't feel degraded by this. I'm just saying, how in the actual world is this degrading? I guess she's going to witch-splain it to us. It's a stupid joke because she plays the wicked. Sorry, it didn't work, but let's just move on. The original poster is an illustration, all caps. I am a real-life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you. Usually, I don't think pointing out grammatical errors is helpful at all, but what this really indicates to me is that this was fired off without so much as double checking it, which is maybe not something you want to do while accusing someone of creating the most offensive thing you have ever seen. Anyways, she chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to me, the viewer, because without words, we communicate with our eyes. I'm sorry, the way she's talking to everybody as if they're actually school children is sending me. Why is illustration in all caps? Without words, we communicate with our eyes. She really thought she ate with that. She really thought she ate with that. I feel like all she's missing under here, she should have just written mic drop. But you know what? Let's go ahead and put that theory to the test, because frankly, I think I was being a little too nice about the original poster. Let's go ahead and see what's being communicated via the eyes here. It's giving hostage situation. It looks like Ariana Grande is telling Cynthia the most unfunny joke she's ever heard in her entire life. And Cynthia is just begging, pleading, please make this woman go away. Please, for the love of God. She keeps singing whistle notes into my ear. Save me, save me. That's what was being communicated to my eyes, personally. In fact, I wasn't the only one who picked up on this she looks traumatized vibe. The poster got turned into a meme because she fully looks like she's going through it. And here is the absolute craziest part about this image right here. Cynthia reposted that and had no problem with it. She fully put this on her Instagram and reposted it a few days before all of this. And so obviously this meme is intended to be funny, but what gets me is like, this could just as easily be considered offensive. The original image is not funny. It's a depiction of PTSD being accrued in real time. I don't believe the meme was intended to mock soldiers experiencing PTSD, which is probably why Cynthia Erivo saw nothing wrong with this. But how in the world did this cross the line for her when that did not? It's to the point where I'm almost like, is she trolling? Is she trolling right now? Is this just movie promo? But then the thing is, if that's the case, this is completely indefensible. You've tagged this tiny account and put them on your Instagram page, opening them up to get a bunch of hate, which we're gonna look at in a second. So if she's not being serious, this is actually incredibly nasty behavior to accuse people of doing this awful stuff. But if she is being serious, then I am just so very confused. What lines is Cynthia drawing? What is the difference? I guess she tries to break it down for us at the end here. Our poster is an homage, not an imitation. To edit my face and hide my eyes is to erase me. And that is just deeply hurtful. And so that, I suppose, is the crux of Cynthia's argument here. She has been erased. What really is bothersome about this is that the thing she's complaining about does happen. Zendaya, back when she was a teenager, had to call out a fashion magazine, and look at what they did. This is insane. So this is her on the right, and they have quite literally erased her, tried to make her look like twice as thin for absolutely no reason. But then again, there is a reason. We deal with Eurocentric beauty standards. Being thin, having small features, all of these things are prioritized. And so people like Cynthia Erivo often wind up getting manipulated in the fashion industry as people try to take their beauty and shape it into something they're not, quite literally erasing them. And so I'm not going to sit here and be obtuse and act like I have no idea what she could possibly be referring to. I'm just going to sit here and point out it didn't happen. Her features were not changed. They were not erased. Nothing about the structure of her face was altered. They gave her a smile to more closely match the original poster, but she still has the same lips. She has the same nose, chin. Like, if she really just means that by covering her eyes, they have erased her, then at that point, I truly feel like a touching of grass is in order. There's literally just no precedent for this to be offensive. It's not a hate symbol. It's not like a code. It's not a dog whistle for like covering someone's eyes. You have said something about them, tried to erase them. It's to match the gosh darn illustration. And I get Cynthia's point about how I'm not an illustration, but they just did not change her face to look closer to the original. I kind of hate the verbiage of they edited my face because she's really stretching the definition there to make it seem malicious and disgusting. The edit was literally a shadow. Also, can I point out the obvious and say that Ariana Grande got her face obscured as well? Like in the original, most of her face is visible, but in the redo, she too has been obscured for the mystery angle. Presenting this as if you were robbed of something, I think, is what's really sending me. It comes across as bullying to me. It comes across as like, I didn't like what I saw, and so I am going to direct my attention to this small account who posted it and give a reason for why it's bad, even though that reason isn't actually real, and then let the nonsense ensue. And nonsense ensued. This is very distasteful. Y'all don't go around changing white people's features on posters. It was fine as is. Again, the only feature one could conceive of as being changed is her smile. Her lips did not get any bigger. They did not change shape. It just looks an awful lot like Cynthia Erivo smiling is giving low-key racist. I feel like the people reacting to this are just taking Cynthia's edited my face verbiage at face value. And that's why this feels so weirdly malicious to me. It just feels like a false accusation, but it's not. It's so tricky because technically they did edit her face. This unsettles me, to be honest. This is an unsettling story. I don't like sitting around and pointing at an example of someone implying that something is racist and saying, no, it's not. And there's no way that this could be considered such. But I do think it's important to do in cases like this to defend people. I don't know where the original person is who made that fan edit, but not to be dramatic, I hope they're okay. If I was just a musical fan trying to do something cool for my other musical fans, and someone else posted my image somewhere, leading to me getting called out by the lead actress of like the most important musical event since Joker 2, Folia 2, I would be so... I wouldn't know how to feel. By the way, I'm on the post right now, and you want examples of wild offensive things? Here you go, fam. Is she out of her monkey mind? Ariana's face is hidden too. What really sends me is like, this is so common. I don't have to tell you that anytime you've got a woman of color playing a lead, a very specific portion of the internet, the anti-woke, anti-DEI crowd who is always happy to jump up and try to put people in their place, they are always saying just the nastiest, most racist stuff. And so I don't doubt that Cynthia has actually seen a lot of really awful things that we honestly can't even imagine. I am nowhere near famous, and I am completely unsurprised by this monkey comment because it's not unlike things I see on a very regular basis. So in a weird way, if I like try to wrap my head around where Cynthia could be coming from, I truly understand seeing just the most heinous stuff day in and day out, people just posting it publicly because they don't care. And then finally hitting your point and saying, yeah, you know what? I'm calling this out. Because I would like to point out 2 of the things she was complaining about were a big deal. Again, those invasive questions, the AI stuff, taking her likeness and doing really awful stuff with it. That's all real, and there's no way she can experience that without getting emotional. But you're still responsible for yourself at the end of the day. It's just that simple. I can't sit here and defend her against this. She's causing the people who are reposting a harmless fan edit to receive hate online. And that's just, it was completely unnecessary. They don't deserve it. And she's wrong for that. I have to say it. Anyway, she then reposted the original and said, let me put this right here to remind you and to cleanse your palate. And I'm going to be honest with you, dog. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. It still doesn't look that great. It really doesn't. But yeah, obviously there was a lot of discourse online with the vast majority of people saying she overreacted. And I think a lot of people were kind of defending her or even just pointing out they understand where she was coming from, because I saw a lot of implication that like Cynthia Erivo is experiencing absolutely nothing. There's literally no racism in existence that she has ever experienced. And that's why she had to make up something to react to. That's not true. That's false, so I'm not going to spread that in my video. I've shown you people being racist right there on Instagram. That being said, it's just a classic case of multiple things being true at once. Wicked Fans Mexico, the fan account that she tagged, they posted on their story and they said, it's not, you know, my poster. I found it on Twitter, but I still liked how they did this. It's cute. I'm not belittling the original poster or Cynthia. She is a cute and talented person. I'm sorry if this gave you a hard time. This is just a fan edit. They then said there's been a bit of talk on social media about what happened with my post, and I was close to deleting it to avoid a negative impact on Wicked's publicity simply because I'm very excited about this release and because they're coming to Mexico City. And that's exactly why I wanted to be part of the dynamic. I'm sorry. This sucks. Cynthia has literally singled out the most hyper excited fans and called them racist, basically. Accused them of promoting the most offensive things in existence. There's just no excuse to being that short-sighted. Anyway, they go on to say, I would like to stop the hate I'm receiving from some fans because I'm receiving messages insulting me and wishing me the worst. There are even those who have taken the time to find my home address. I simply ask that you please stop taking negative actions in the face of a misunderstanding. There's just a lot of callousness that I think is running through Cynthia Erivo's actions here. Callousness towards the plight of literally everybody in the entire world who are going through much wilder, more offensive things than she is. Being callous towards the people who made the poster, the fans who are reposting it, and then you've got it spreading all over the mainstream news. NBC, CNN, Variety. Like, this is an absurd amount of attention that Cynthia has called to somebody who, at the end of the day, did not do anything wrong. It's a complete misuse of power, in my opinion, and I hate to see it. And so it's really important to me to say at the end of this video, whenever Hollywood actresses do things that people don't like, people go so far out of their way to discredit them, react disproportionately, basically act like these women are the worst person in the history of the world because they annoyed you. It's pure misogyny, and there's often a lot of racism involved, etc. So I would just like to reestablish this is coming from somebody who understands Cynthia's plight, or at least tries to. I am saying this is totally messed up and unfair to the people she's criticized. You don't have to erase, I guess, all of the actual problems Cynthia's going to in order to call her out. I just don't think those problems are relevant to the fact that what she's done is wrong. And also, if I could stir the pot a little, I feel like probably everybody in the production of the original poster is probably low-key offended because someone on Twitter managed to do a better job in most likely 10 minutes. But anyway, this is already a highly edited photo of Cynthia Erivo's face. Even with the green makeup, I know darn well she does not look exactly like this. And so holding these people to a different standard because they edited it in a slightly different direction as a cool nod to the poster you were already referencing is a no from me, dog. But anyway, that's my take on the situation. Dave's take is that both of the posters are offensive, and he will be boycotting the Wicked movie because, again, the book goes so much harder. But I'm, of course, excited to hear your take. I mean, this is the part of the video where a layman would ask you to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment, but I will ask you to enroll, evaluate the video, and submit your feedback. Because I'm, of course, running a 100% completely, totally, all the way, okay, maybe not really, somewhat unaccredited university. Probably. Just ask anybody in the student body and they'll confirm it for you. We're totally legit. And as for me, whether you'll see me in 24 hours or 24 months is honestly anyone's guess, but until then, thanks for watching. Your homework for today is to see if you can make it all the way to the end of the day without hearing anything else about Wicked, because that's what I'm going to try to do.